Today we're going to talk about water. Water storage for an overlanding trip, and the way that it's consumed, the way to calculate how much water you need, and how you're going to carry that water and possibly replenish that water. So I want to go through that today. I want to talk a little bit about what I do currently. And as always, I love hearing your comments, and sometimes I make changes to my setup based on the feedback you're giving me. So again, like always, I get as much out of this as you probably do, what little bit of information you get from me. So with that said, let's get started. Okay, I believe everybody has probably heard of the survival rules of 3, but if not, let's just discuss them briefly. You can't go more than 3 minutes without air. You can't go more than 3 hours without shelter in extreme conditions. You can't go more than 3 days without water, and you can't go more than 3 weeks without food. So that's your basic survival rules of 3. Today we're going to talk about water. So obviously water is a very important resource for you when you're out on a trip. And there's a lot of things to consider when you're planning your trip is how much water am I going to carry with me? Who's going to be consuming the water? Not only people, animals, but also what else are you going to use water for? You know, washing dishes after you've fixed a meal, rinsing something off, or just, you know, other uses for water other than just consumption in your body. And then is there any alternative water sources where you're going? So should you take maybe a filtration system to resupply your water? So those are things to consider when you're planning a trip and how much water you want to take. So what I'm going to talk about today is what I'm using, and it's very simple. I haven't gotten very elaborate on my water setup, and want to share that with you today. Love to get your comments. There's many times I get comments, I start tweaking what I'm doing based on your experiences, so it works out great. Not only am I trying to give you some information, I get a lot from you as well, and I really appreciate that. And while we're on that subject, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. We would love that. It really helps the channel, and if you found this informative, please give us a like as well. The channel's getting a lot of momentum, and we really appreciate all that you do. Okay, so let's get started with the simplest water source, an Nalgene bottle. A lot of you have Nalgene bottles or some type of bottle. I use this as my primary go-to day in and day out. I'll carry this in the truck, or if I'm at a camp, this will be my go-to just to rehydrate. So I'm using this all the time. I do have another version. This is an aluminum version. It's by Under Armour, this particular one. But I carry this in the truck all the time to keep from carrying water bottles in the middle of the summer. There is some studies that are showing that a water bottle, in the temperatures that your vehicle experiences, there's chemicals in the plastic that can get in the water and could harm you. So that's what I use on a daily basis. Now, as far as containers for storing for a trip, this is usually my largest water source that I take, my largest container. This is a 20 liter. This particular one's made by Scepter. But it's a very common container out there with overlanding, with people involved in overlanding and camping and the military, you name it. This thing's been around for a long time. This is a plastic version. There's also metal containers as well. The shape is very common. There's a lot of mounting options for this type of container, and it's very rugged, very durable. This thing will last for a long, long time. And what it has as far as usage, you have your spout here, your cap that screws onto your spout, keeps it tight. You've got a little vent here that makes pouring a lot easier. Then you got your larger cap as well for refilling, or if you want to pour out a large amount at a given time. Now, the only negative I would say on this is this cap design. It'd be nice if there was some way it could hold itself in the up position, Because when you're pouring, the cap is right there in the way, so you kind of have to move it back when you're pouring. But other than that, great design. Love this container. Actually thinking about getting another one. They also make these containers with a built-in filtration system, which is kind of cool. A little bit more pricey, obviously, but gives you an option of taking in a large amount of water and then filtering it when you want to use it. So an accessory that I have bought for this can is an extended nozzle, okay? And you just push this, get water, release it, it shuts it off. It just screws right in. I think this thing was $10 or something like that, not too bad. And then what I've been doing is I've been mounting this here, okay? So this extension gave me access to the water more easily, more convenient. Now, the problem with this setup that I've found is that with this being your largest container for water, you could run low on water and not realize it. So what I've started doing is managing a little bit differently. So I typically don't use this setup unless I would have a backup. But I will use this as my main water supply and then refill a smaller supply, okay? This is a product I got from a company called HydraPak. Now, I've found this, I was just searching online for other smaller sources. I found these guys, I did a little research, and I really liked what I saw, so I reached out to them and asked if they'd send me one for a review, and they did. Very good people, very good customer service. The material used in this product is a thermoplastic polyurethane. And it's a very lightweight material, but very strong, very elastic. And also they use a welding process called radio frequency. And they do an overlap and it makes it a very strong seam. So this thing is extremely durable. Now I've only had it a couple months, but I've run it through some pretty rigorous testing. I've just kind of thrown it in the back of the truck. I've kept it until today. There's been water in it for the last 8 weeks, and it hasn't leaked. I'm really happy with this product. Now this is an 8-liter version. Okay, they also make some other sizes as well. They make a 2-liter, a 3-liter, and a 4-liter, and this is an 8-liter. They also make bladders, they make bottles, they have a whole range of products. And I haven't tried any of the others, but if they're anything like this, I'll be very pleased with them. This thing also has a handle that's very strong, has a little connection point here that actually is connected with the handle, so you could hang it. I like the ends, they're more of a rugged bottom because it does set up very well. And the reason why it sets up very well is there's a dual baffle system in this thing that keeps it stable when it's full of water or even when it's half filled with water. But there are 2 baffles that run this direction. And you might can see those little lines there. Those are the baffles. They are about this long. And again, they just keep it stable. So love that. They have a little area here you can see how much water you have left. And they have some molly here, which helps for additional connection points. So I just have really been very pleased with it. Now the cap, it's a wide mouth, which is cool as well. And it's a 63 millimeter thread design. So it fits some other products out there for filtration. I think Backcountry has a filtration unit that fits onto this, and there's some others as well. Now the other thing that's unique about this cap, first of all, I like the way it's connected so you don't lose it, but it also has, let me get this screwed back on there. The cap has a removable, you can kind of see where you kind of turn this, it pops right off. And then back here, there's a nozzle, okay? And it just clicks right in. Okay, so this would be my primary water source at camp. This is what I would pull from for what I would need, and then I'd replenish with the larger sources. So I would probably position, or what I have been doing is positioning it at this location. Then I can, get water as needed. I could have it down here on the tailgate and in that fashion as well. So many options here with this little guy. It sets up really well when it's full of water and very stable. Now, another thing about this product that I really like is its everyday use. And I really didn't anticipate that when I got it. I was thinking more of just trips and overlanding, that kind of thing. But now we really use it for when we're taking the dogs out to get them some exercise out in the field. There's some areas that we like to go and let them run, throw in the Frisbee. My Golden Retriever Banks loves to run a basketball, just pushing it with his nose for, it seems like, miles. But anyway, they need hydration, and this is perfect. We take one of their stainless bowls, and this is plenty of water to keep them hydrated while we're out with them. So it's really been good for that. And another thing too, I want to show you that I forgot to mention, is the way it collapses down for storage when you're not using it. Now I typically fill this up when I go on a trip along with my other water supplies, but if you did want to pack this in for whatever reason, you just collapse it down, get all the air out of it. In fact, let me take the nozzle off, put that back in there. All right, so push it down, put the top back on, and there you have it. It stays collapsed with the air out of it. So packs up really well. So if you have multiple of these, you want to stick one in your one of your cases for a backup, it packs up really well, okay? Now, next on the list is the WaterPort. I've had this for probably 3 or 4 years. It's a great system. It gives you pressurized water, okay? Now I've put this nozzle on, it comes with a different one. But the way you pressurize it is there's a quick disconnect that can be mounted here on the end. And you would stick your hose in there, you'd connect it in, run water in it, and it pressurizes it as long as your top is sealed. And then you have pressurized water once you connect your hose back onto it. If you have to fill it up through this opening in order to pressurize it, you would just use this pump and pressurize it. So that comes in handy if you're having to refill it when you're out somewhere and you don't have the ability to use a hose to do that process. So great product. This one is about just shy of 4 gallons. It's about 3.85, I believe it is. It's called their Dayport, I think it is. They have a weekender that's 8 gallons, about twice this size, that I'm actually considering as well. As far as mounting options, until recently, I've had it mounted where you see this white container, this RotoPax I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. I've had this mounted there. And it's a nice little mount that allows you to pick it up off the mount, remove it, and slide it back in. It even gives you a little area to put a padlock if you want to lock it in. But I've recently replaced it with the RotoPax, so I'm going to explain why. And I'm going to mount this, my plan is to mount it to the hitch. There's a hitch mount that comes with it that I think I'm going to use. Either that or I'm just going to put it in without a mount, just in the bed of the truck, and just bring it out, maybe like somewhere here on the tailgate when I'm using it, or I may mount it up above here somewhere. So I'm still trying to figure that out. But I definitely want to take it with me on trips. It's very useful. Pressurized water, I think it's just better when you're washing your dishes and utensils after a meal. It helps a little bit. And then if you want to rinse something off like the dogs or your boots or yourself, it could be a shower. It does a pretty good job with all that. So I like having that as an option. And it gives you another almost 4 gallons of backup water, because this is still drinkable water. It's just water out of the tap. So that's that. All right, RotoPax. All right, what I have done, I have had the RotoPax gas can you see over here, the red container, and that's a 3-gallon supply of gas, backup gas. What I wanted to do was provide flexibility in changing my setup based on the needs of the trip. So there's going to be some trips you take where you're going to need more gas And some trips you may not need as much gas, but maybe need more water. So I wanted the ability to kind of change with that in my setup. So I have the 3 gallons of gas over here. With the same mount that RotoPax provides, I can mount other containers of the same form factor to this mount. So if it's a trip where I'm going to need more gas, I'll have 2 3-gallon additional gas containers. If it's a trip where I need less gas and maybe more water, I can add the water container. And as you can see, it mounts up nice out of the way. It's small. This is a 2-gallon supply as far as the water goes. The way you loosen it up, you just turn these and slide it off. And it mounts up nice and firm too. It does a great job in how it mounts. And then there's your 2 gallons of water, or a 3-gallon fuel supply. And there's other sizes as well they make. But they make a great product. It's very durable. They have a patent on the molding process, and they do quite well with this product. I really like it a lot. They're very common in the overlanding community. You'll see them mounted on the outside of a rack system a lot of times. And mine just didn't set up for that, so I got mine mounted inside. But love the product and highly recommend it. I'll leave links below on this as well. All right, so that's about it as far as water storage and water management. I do want to touch a little bit on replenishment. Now, you can get very elaborate, like everything else, with filtration systems. Now, with my needs, I'm typically a long weekend type of trip, maybe a weekend, maybe a 3-day, 2 nights type is mainly what I do. So I can usually take enough water for my needs. Now, if I do need to do any kind of replenishment, I have a water source nearby, I just carry this little cellular system that I use actually for backpacking as well. These are very common as well, especially in the backpacking community. And it's very simple. They sell these little bags you can buy with them, even though they're not very durable. I'd recommend having a couple backups if you are using these. And it just screws in. You put the water into the bag, screw it in, turn it upside down, and what comes out is drinkable water. You can fill up another water source. There's also some bottles will have this thread pattern you can screw it into and use a bottle for the same purpose. So this is more of an emergency type of situation, or if you're backpacking and need just smaller water supplies, it's a great solution. But there's other things you can do as far as being on a much larger scale. But anyway, that's what I use. So that's about it. Pretty basic video. I just wanted to show you what I'm doing in this area. And I'd love to hear your comments about what you're doing. I tend to get some great feedback and kind of tweak my setup a little bit based on some information you've provided. I really appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. We'd appreciate it. It really supports the channel. And we've been very happy with the support we've received from everybody in the last 5 to 6 months. It's been great. Like the video if you found it useful. We appreciate that as well. And again, comments below, and I'm going to have links for everything we've talked about today. All right? So with that said, like always, until next time, have fun out there.